You never think it'll happen to you. That moment where the lines between right and wrong start to blur, not because you're reckless or naive, but because the life you thought you were living slowly begins to fade into something else. That was me, a wife, a woman, and suddenly someone I barely recognized in the mirror. We'd been married for 7 years. I used to count every one of them proudly. My husband, Mark, was a man of routine, stability, and discipline. He was good to me, in the way that a well-made schedule is good for a planner. Predictable, calm, comfortable, and for a while that's all I ever needed. But something shifted, gradually, almost imperceptibly at first. We stopped looking at each other like we once did. You know that look, the one that makes your stomach flutter for no reason. His touches became mechanical, his words rehearsed. It wasn't abuse, it wasn't anger, it was an absence. The absence of presence. If that makes sense. I thought maybe it was stress, work, middle age creeping up on us. I tried to be patient. I read books. I watched videos. I tried new things with him, for us. But Mark wasn't open to those conversations. And then one night, over wine and a slow, burning silence, he said something that shattered my understanding of our marriage. He said, "What if we tried something different, really different?" I blinked, confused, like, what? He didn't look me in the eye when he said it. He just kept sipping his wine and staring at the wall. "What if you spent time with someone else?" he asked. At first I laughed, nervously, thought he was joking, but he wasn't. His voice didn't tremble. It didn't crack. It was calm, like he'd thought about it for a long time. He started talking about trust, about freedom, about watching me light up again. I didn't understand. Not yet. But over the next few days, he kept bringing it up. Gently, reassuringly, like he was offering me a gift. And then he said it explicitly. "What if you met up with 2 black men I've been chatting with online? For you. For us." I didn't know whether to be furious or flattered. I wasn't even sure what I was supposed to feel. I had so many questions. Why black men, specifically? Why 2? Had he lost interest in me? Or was this about something he wanted to experience vicariously? He confessed that the idea of watching me with someone else, especially 2 confident, dominant men, was something that had been on his mind for a while. He framed it as fantasy, as exploration, as the thing that could reignite our spark. I was torn, deeply. This was infidelity, wasn't it? Even if he approved, even if he set it all up, and yet a part of me, one that had long been sleeping, felt seen. I felt noticed in a way I hadn't in years. It scared me how curious I became. I didn't say yes, not right away. I researched, I journaled, I even talked to a therapist without telling her all the details, but enough to explore the emotions. Underneath, the truth was I missed being wanted, desired, not just for being a wife or a partner, but as a woman. And there was something about how openly Mark wanted to share this experience with me, not in secret, not out of betrayal, but out of some complex cocktail of love and longing. Eventually, I agreed, but only under certain conditions. Respect, safety, clear boundaries, and we would talk through every moment afterward, together. Mark set everything up. The men, let's call them Chris and Darius, were respectful, mature, and surprisingly down to earth. They weren't what you might expect from the title of a story like this. They weren't aggressive or inappropriate. They were thoughtful, communicative, and understood this wasn't just a fantasy, it was a fragile emotional experiment between a married couple trying to rediscover something they'd lost. The night it happened, I was more nervous than I'd ever been, not because I was afraid of them, but because I was afraid of myself, afraid of what this would mean for my marriage, for my sense of identity, for my heart. But something remarkable happened. For the first time in years, I felt present. Every sensation, every word, every moment felt like a reminder that I was still alive, still desirable, still in control of my own story. There was no shame, no guilt, just raw, unfiltered human emotion. Afterward, Mark held me. He didn't pull away, he didn't judge. He asked how I felt. He cried a little, not from jealousy but from release. He said seeing me like that, uninhibited, glowing, made him remember the woman he first fell in love with, and he realized he had let her fade into the background for far too long. We spent weeks talking about what happened, not just the act, but what it revealed about us, about the boxes we put ourselves in when we say, I do, the way desire changes over time, the way marriage doesn't have to mean monotony or the death of curiosity. Now, I'm not saying this is a path for everyone. It's not. It takes deep trust, unshakable honesty, and the courage to face the parts of yourself that society tells you to bury. What I learned through this experience is that love is not always tidy. Sometimes it's messy, complicated, unconventional. But at its core, love is about seeing each other. Not just the roles we play, but the people we are becoming, year after year. My story isn't one of betrayal. It's one of transformation. And if you take anything away from it, let it be this. Sometimes the most shocking experiences are the ones that bring you closer, not just to your partner, but to yourself.